Again, second start. Welcome. Happy to be here, giving a keynote at such an awesome conference with lots of people interested in Keycloak. Um, I'm Alexander, or just Alex. I'm one of the maintainers of Keycloak. I'm working for Red Hat. I'm working basically all day on the Keycloak upstream project. You see me on Git. And yeah, I'm going to talk about how to benefit from the latest Keycloak features. I believe a lot of people in the room are already running Keycloak, so maybe a show of hands, who is running Keycloak in production? Oh, okay, that's a lot of people. Um, who is running like Keycloak 18 or earlier in production? Okay, so I believe there are lots of consultants here. Who is running Keycloak 24 or later in production? Or yeah, Keycloak 4 in production? Or who is running Keycloak 26 in production? Who is running Keycloak 26.1 in production? Ah, very, very good. Ah, that's the adventurous people, right? Okay. So, how to benefit from the latest Keycloak features? This is what the talk will be about. I have about 30 minutes what I hear. Let's make most of that 30 minutes. Um, Keycloak is, well, open source, which is great. It's about identity and access management. And, well, the initial commit was more than 10 years ago. Uh, and we're now with a cloud native computing foundation, so it's no longer owned by a single company. All the trademarks, all the website, everything is now with the CNCF. It was a lot of paperwork, but it's done, which is great. And it's Apache licensed with version 2, which is also commercial friendly. And we have 26,000 stars, which makes us stand out from many other cloud native computing foundation projects. And if you have not yet given us a star, please give us a star so we can stand out even more between the other CNCF projects that there are. All right. So, best way to benefit from latest Keycloak features is upgrading. Who would thought that, right? Um, And it's also, you're not upgrading for the features, but you're also upgrading for bug fixes. Bug fixes, something wasn't working, then it's working after the bug fix. And it's also about CVE changes. And like if you're maybe running Keycloak in an enterprisey, firewalled, whatnot environment, maybe you're not so fond of doing all the updates, but the moment you open it up to the internet, you really want to do all the updates. Um, How often do we do updates? The current cycle is we do feature releases every 3 months, and we have patches that come out every 2 weeks on average. So yeah, updating is, yeah, please do update, and it's probably good when you automate all the things, right? The release cadence in more detail. So there was a blog post published in August, so the slides will be online later, and there was a blog post from Steen in October explaining all this release cadence here. So there's a major release every 2 to 3 years now. So the next major release is planned for March 2025. It can contain breaking changes, and we can then remove any deprecated features. The minor releases come out every 3 months. If there are breaking changes in a minor release, they are opt-in, so they will not be enabled by default. You need to probably add a feature flag and say, yes, this breaking change, I want that. Everything else, all the features that are in that release are then non-breaking and enabled by default. That's the plan. Then there are patch releases, fixing errors in CVEs, as I said, maybe on average every 2 weeks. And there's also a container respin. So if you're using our container images, they're versioned by the patch release, but if there's maybe a change in the OpenJDK or any other RPM packages on the base layers of the container is respun. Hopefully that's the right English word here. It's built with the same version of Keycloak, but with a different base layer to fix any CVEs that are maybe in the JDK or anything below the JDK on the operating system level. So that's the release cadence. And there's now a new release cycle for client libraries. So if you're using the JavaScript client, the Java client, it's now in a separate repository. It has a separate release cycle. yeah, and that's so that you don't need to upgrade your clients whenever you upgrade your Keycloak server, which is hopefully a good thing. You can tell me your opinions about that, maybe in the break. I'm happy to hear all this. All this release cadence is available only on the main line. Basically, if there's a new minor release, there won't be patches for any earlier minor release. When there's a new major release, there will be no changes for any of the previous major releases. So yeah, that's the way things are. You might start paying people to do something differently. So you maybe get a subscription from a big vendor that you could also all the releases supported. I believe other companies in the room will do similar things with their Keycloak distributions. Anyway, but that's when you want to stay on mainline. So one of the latest changes in the minor releases, for example, in 26.1, we added a new transport stack, JDBC ping, and all other transport stacks except Kubernetes are now deprecated. Why did we do that? Because EC2 ping and other things were too painful for some of our users. So we said, let's get JDBC ping right and make it work for everyone in all the environments. It will not depend on multicast. But then we also deprecated all the others at the same time, and they will be there until we release Keycloak 27, because all the deprecated stuff we'll get rid of that once there's a new major release. For Keycloak 26.2, which is planned, will be available end of March, if everything goes as planned. The first iteration on rolling updates for the operator. For example, if you stay on the same version of Keycloak and just change a theme or just change an extension, you will support rolling updates with the Keycloak operator. This will then probably be a preview feature in 26.2 and therefore not enabled by default. And once it's matured, this will eventually be then enabled by default because we think it's then a non-breaking change for those people using it for the setups. Right. If you want to get yourself updated, what's then on our roadmap, you can go to our GitHub issue tracker, and there's some magic filtering. You can filter for issues, you can filter for milestones, and you can filter for issues labeled of kind epic. And then you will see, for example, this initial zero downtime image handling for the Keycloak operator that's currently scheduled for Keycloak 26.2. The simplified encryption for J groups communication is also scheduled for 26.2. If you would look at this today, it's actually closed. So we will get a zero configuration encryption for J groups communication between Keycloak nodes, which is hopefully also making some admins happy that they will do less stuff around that. So this is how you get yourself informed in a good way about what's upcoming in the release. You can also subscribe to these issues, and we will then update them with a new comment when there's a new nightly release, including significant updates where we ask you to maybe spin up a nightly release and give us some feedback if things are working as you expect them to work, or if it needs maybe some refinement in a way where we need to fix something. So this also takes me to reporting bugs. Reporting bugs is, well, the way to anything that's not working as expected. And eventually it gets like, the caterpillar turns into a nice butterfly once they're fixed. And you will then see, well, you report a bug, you reproduce it with the latest release. Again, a good reason to upgrade because, or at least upgrade the development environment to reproduce any problems you're seeing. Because if you report it for an earlier release, we will put a note there, give you a deadline of like, is it 14 days to reproduce it with the latest release? And then the issue will be closed if you, well, didn't come back to us with the latest release. So that's how we handle things in the community. We really need to get your feedback about if it still exists in the latest release. And then you need to also provide us the steps and the details of the deployment. Maybe give us a compose file, maybe do some manual steps, screenshots, whatever we need to really reproduce the issue. And the Keycloak team monitors this and we track our work using some service level objectives. That we have a dashboard that shows like which team is now has how many issues to triage, how many are overdue in triage, how many important bugs are now in the queue, how many of these important bugs are overdue. So we track our work around bugs. I say since last year, probably very, very closely, and you should get timely responses to, especially to triaging, and also timely fixes for important bugs. If a bug is not important, it's not important, and then it's usually flagged for help wanted. We might provide a fix, but we really invite community to work on those issues, or if we get then more upvotes on an issue, it might then go from a not so important to an important issue. So yeah, votes on issues on GitHub are a good indicator for us to figure out yeah, what we should do next and what we should focus on. This goes both for bugs and for enhancements as well. So if you haven't, if you have a GitHub account, you can do three things. You can vote on issues, on bugs, you can vote on enhancements, and you can give us a star. So it's always good to have a GitHub account. Getting things fixed, providing a pull request or is one thing. So you provide a pull request, we review it. Maybe you review it even in your company and tell us, yes, it works for us, maybe in our production environment already. Maybe you help testing if a Keycloak developer provided the fix, you help testing it by building a local image. Or after it's been merged to the main branch, there's a nightly release that you can download and check out if that nightly release really works for you, because from the nightly release, we will then cut a patch release soon and that you can use in your production environment. Again, the nightly release, it has some warning letters here saying do not use nightly releases in production environments. Please don't, because you can't upgrade from one nightly release to another nightly release. So you can take maybe a clone of a production site, then install a nightly release, but then you will not be able to update from one nightly release to another nightly release because we don't provide the migration scripts for that. Good. Preparing for an upgrade. How to do that? We can take questions in between, right? Anyhow, is via tests and automation, of course. How do you test Keycloak?
Test container.
One good answer. Other good answers. How do you test Keycloak? That's probably functional testing.
Automated and test everything from
End-to-end testing, for example, with load testing, that was Gatling. That's probably not only functional testing, but also like non-functional testing with response times, which is a good one. Yeah, and also whatever front-end testing framework you came up with. Yeah, and there we are with functional tests. And by some miracle, test containers is on it. So you can deploy Keycloak to a test environment and run your integration tests with whatever UI, automation, REST call automation framework you have. Again, automation is key to make things simple. If you use test containers, you can really have a test harness for maybe an extension you wrote, or maybe your automatic realm configuration. You can apply to a Keycloak test container, put everything in there, do some smoke tests, and make sure that we didn't break that important functionality your company depends on. Well, and then you can do that, of course, on anything that we released before you put it into production, but then there are also the Keycloak nightly releases. Every night there's a new release of Keycloak with the latest changes in main, and you can run, if everything is automated, it shouldn't be just adding another pipeline to your CI product of your choice to run it not only against the native release, but also against our nightly release. And when you do that, you can file bugs for the nightly release, not only for release stuff, but also the nightly release. And if we get the feedback about anything that fails for you in the nightly release, then there's a bug, there's an SLO, we fix it, and it's then fixed once the proper release is cut. So we really love to get that feedback from the community about our nightly releases from your CI pipelines in your companies. So some words about if you're running Keycloak in a non-standard way. I believe a lot of people are here, well, really great inventors of things you can do with Keycloak that nobody else in the world has thought about before. Especially those parts. Please test them. Please test them in your environments. We will probably not have any tests in our release pipeline for that. So please run them in your environment, maybe eventually document it and contribute to documentation so the world knows about it. We have a Keycloak blog where you can share things. So we welcome your stories in our blog, maybe even case studies. So we are a CNCF project. We have the chance to publish our case studies with the CNCF to a worldwide audience. So if you're interested in that, let me know. I'm happy to help with and guide you through that. Yeah. Did I say you can pay someone to do the documentation and testing for you? Yes, you can. We also talked about load tests, and that was a great input over there from the audience. And we have the Keycloak benchmark project that comes with, I'd say, ready-to-use getting scripts, but you tell me otherwise if that's not the case. So you can run the load test against an environment. There's also an extension that you can install to create any number of users and groups and realms. So you can really have some data that you can test against. It's all in Keycloak benchmark. Please give it a try and then let us know if it works for you or not. It's good to see that also this repository got some stars over time. Making upgrades smoother. Once everything is tested, you want to really install it and you don't want to have downtimes, of course. Something that happened in Keycloak 26. Now by default, there are persistent user sessions. You can shut down Keycloak, do an installation, and bring it up back again. And the users are still logged in. I know there are other solutions out there, but this is now the solution that comes with Keycloak out of the box and should be a good fit for everyone. We are now working also on protostream serialization for everything that's going on internally, and this is the foundation of a future. You can upgrade Keycloak from one patch release to another patch release without any breaking changes. So we're doing some homework there, and that piece of homework landed in Keycloak 26. And the new upgrade compatibility command, this is about to land in Keycloak 26.2. So you have like this start command for Keycloak, you have the import and export command, and there's now another command called upgrade compatibility check, where you can ask Keycloak, this version is that rolling upgrades compatible with that other version. And that's going to land in Keycloak 26.2. The command will stay for the next foreseeable future, and it will be start very dump in the beginning. If it's the same Keycloak version in that image, it will do a rolling upgrade. But we will teach it over the next month of this year some new tricks to also do to decide, yes, these two minor versions are compatible. If you have extensions, you can contribute information to that from that extension to say, yes, it is possible to upgrade from that extension version to another extension version without a downtime. So yeah, we make this command really, really smart over time to do the right thing for you to do rolling updates in the production. Hopefully by the end of the year, you will only need to do a downtime upgrade for minor releases, and that would be then 4 times a year. Another thing, when you want to do upgrades, who's running English only in their production environment? Who's running another language? That would be the rest of you. Like a German login, French login, Italian login. Yeah. So the thing is, we ship a lot of translations in our community release. And well, if you then start translating once the release is out, that's too late. So we now have a web-based translation process based on WebLate, and we're now looking for volunteers who want to manage that process for a given language. So if you're volunteering here, let me know, and we will set you up. So all the community can contribute translations, but we ask for 2 volunteers for each language to manage that contributions for that language, and then we will have also an up-to-date translation once the Keycloak release comes out for all the languages that we support, and hopefully support future languages as well. So that should make your updates process a lot smoother. And as I said, the best way to benefit from the latest Keycloak features and fixes is automated testing, regular upgrading, and contributing. Contributing bugs, bug reports is a great way to contribute by testing it in a native release, contributing translations, contributing fixes, That's all great things we want to see in Keycloak. So that's the upgrading story. And there's one more thing. I'd say 2025 is a great time to start hosting your own single sign-on, IAM, IDP, whatnot. 2024 was a great time because some people changed their licenses and prices. And 2024 was already a great year to run Keycloak. 2025 is now an even greater time to run Keycloak in your own data centers because maybe you don't want to have a service hosted in another country with another legislation. So maybe you have an IDP running in your own country, in your own data center, and be the owner of all that data that's stored in there. So I invite you to discuss here today. Let's join forces to bring Keycloak to the masses, and we will need to figure out how to do that. So I think four things come together to make it really a good experience for the masses. It's to make it appealing for new and existing users. At the moment, we have lots of documentation on the website telling you how to fix the problems you have once you install Keycloak. But maybe we should have a bit more information on the homepage telling you, well, once you install Keycloak, you have less problems than before because it's a great IAM. It has great use cases and great stories we want to share with you. It should be simple to get started with. So if you find anybody, or if you maybe remember when you started Keycloak and have some stories to share with us and want to contribute documentation to make it really, really simple to start Keycloak, please contribute. Contribute the right guides. Help us to make the website better. And we also want to make it safe to run, scale, and extend because there are like at least two kinds of teams out there who run Keycloak. One team is maybe 5, 7, 10 people running Keycloak for an organization, writing extensions and doing great stuff with Keycloak. And the other team is one person managing 100 applications, and Keycloak is one of them. We want to make Keycloak a great product to run with that 100th slice of a person. Let's see how far we get there. Especially this JDBC ping was one thing here, or getting the zero configuration encryption to make it really, really easy and secure by default. And I believe there are lots of more things we can do for Keycloak to make it safe to run, scale, and extend. And that also plays a role in the efficient to host and maintain. Yeah, there's a new test suite coming up. Stian and others are doing great contributions there to make it really, really simple to maintain the test suite, contribute your own fixes. There was a blog post last year about that. But you probably also have from your day-to-day experience with Keycloak a lot of ideas that you want to share with each other here today, but also with the Keycloak maintainers, so we can really make the product a lot better than it is today. We've done quite a journey already, but there are still some more steps to go. Right, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions?
Thank you, Alexander. One of the things about your second to last slide and encouraging other people to make it, or encouraging us to make it appealing to new and existing users. One of the things we find in our business is that social proof is incredibly important to getting people to sign and be customers and get excited. To what extent, and I don't know on the current website, have you distributed information and made a forum for who is running Keycloak? And is that something that's possible to share information? Because I know, especially in the United States, very few people, it's a very low awareness of Keycloak. And if we had some of the big logos, especially internationally known German companies that are using Keycloak, it would go a long way to encouraging the large American companies to adopt.
So that's a good point. So at the moment, there is one markdown file in repository listing companies who are already using it. I think one of the companies listed there is, for example, CERN as an organization. And they, for example, presented it at KubeCon conferences and their recorded talks. But we don't have a written down story that we published yet. And we didn't agree with them to put their logo on our website. So So yes, we have a list of companies. We've been talking to some people. We did this survey late last year and this year again. So let me be the contact. Well, yes, we have a place to publish it. We just need to get the content. And as you say, it's not so simple to get the big players on that because they might be shy in a way that they're using open source or shy to share details about their identity and access management system. But yeah, please encourage them. It's like giving something back to the community, to an open source project that's hosted with a CNCF. It's not just giving it back to just a single company.
Thank you. I think on the second slide we announced the next major release for of this month. It's a minor, right?
Sorry, it's a minor. Yeah, no.
Yes.
It's the 31st of March 2020. Oh, 2026. Yeah, all right. It's 2026. Yeah, sorry. Well spotted, Sebastian. Yeah. We
Yeah.
need to fix that.
Yeah. Will be in the show notes. Any other questions? Thank you for
Thanks
details.
for reading the slides.
Yeah. No more questions? Then enjoy the coffee break and see you all for the upcoming talks. Thank you, Alex.